coffee.
Well, we'll get started this morning. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
We have our Board of Commissioners agenda for March 17th. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we start with the agenda review. Bob?
Now, Mr. Chair, we do have one change this morning. It's on item number 14 in your packet. You should have in front of you a revised spreadsheet for that item, and so just make a note to the fact that the item in your packet is now revised, and we'll be using the one in paper form.
I'll move the agenda with the changes.
Second. All right. Any comments, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Passed. All right, Commissioners' reports on committees. Kip, you want to start off this morning?
I certainly could. We were at AMC after our last board meeting, and we were all up there. We had a good showing by Blue Earth County, I thought. Made several different of the out sessions. Good to hear from the governor, and I thought we had a great visit with our legislators and representatives. 5 of them there, so I thought that was productive to have them all there at the same time. I hope, or 4.
Yeah. 4 out of
So
5.
I hope that works out in the future again. We were at the Warm Your Hearts event. Several of us were there. They had a great turnout, and last night they reported at the MVAC meeting, and I think they made $35,000. So down a little bit from last year because they had all those safaris to give away last year, but $35,000 is a nice showing. And a lot of donated stuff. They had several things that were donated that were big ticket items, but all in all, it was a very good turnout. About 250 people, I think they said they had. So
Wow.
getting right up there. 300 is the
really
top they can
packed
have.
there, I
yeah.
know that.
So 300 is the top they can have. So that worked out really well. We had a couple RCEF meetings. One business meeting, just kind of give us an update of what's going on with RCEF, and then a couple other meetings just talking about how we bill out and try to get more people to come and talk with the RCEF organization and get some more new businesses started in the Blue Earth County area. Had a couple solar meetings, a continuation of the one we started a couple weeks ago. I think we got the solar ordinance pretty well wrapped up. I think everything's coming together pretty well on it. I thought we had a great conversation at the last one. We had a few things that we had to deal with, but all in all, I think we're getting a pretty good ordinance put together. And as I mentioned this to some of our other colleagues in surrounding counties, they want to just steal it from us as soon as we get done doing all the hard work, which is fine. You know, that just makes sense.
That's just good county government.
Good county government. We're just unfortunately not stealing it from somebody else.
But we like doing that with other counties ourselves.
We
so
do. And our staff's done a great job putting it together. Mark Manderfield and George and Mike have all worked really hard on it. I think they're doing a good job with it. So that's coming together really well. Mark and I were up at MICA last week. A lot of things going on up there. We got to hear from someone from the state.
It was actually from Scott County.
Or Scott
Child
County.
Protection.
Yep, child protection. Talked a lot about child protection and what's coming down the pike for that. Had a good presentation. And we're just lobbying and kind of keeping things rolling along there. Ryan's still helping us out from AMC. So several of us were at the Greater Mankato Growth Luncheon, which again, another good turnout. People from the community. Mayors and clerks down at the Historical Society. Something about a good turnout. There must be the nice weather. Mayors and clerks was nice to see. About 25 people.
Yeah.
Jessica did a great job with her staff, showing us all around, and people were really interested. And I bet I talked to 3 or 4 people that had never been in the Historical Society that night. My wife being one of them. She'd never been down there before. So a lot of good feedback from that, and a nice showing for the mayors and clerks, because they got to get that. Nice to get that organization back up to what it used to be. So, and then yesterday I had South Central Workforce and my MVAC meeting. South Central Workforce, things are going really well with them. We got some more grants coming through for the summer for some youth programs. Doing a lot of good things. Unemployment rate is very low in the Mankato Blue Earth County area, which is a good thing. MVAC Amanda made her first report last night at our full board meeting. She did a great job, a lot of positive feedback on how good of a job she's doing. She's been to all of the pilots, or all the sites in the whole entire MVAC except for one, and I don't remember what community it was, but she's only got one left to see, so she's only been with us for, a month and a half, 2 months, and she's been to all of the organizations, and seems to be doing a good job, and everybody I asked how they like her, they seem to enjoy her and said she's doing a good job, so. That's all I did the last couple weeks, Mr. Chair.
Is that all?
Yep. I had to work a little bit too.
Mark?
What's work, yeah, what work? Mr. Chair, and, yeah, along with the AMC conference, and of course, Kip talked about that, and, yeah, we can see the legislators are really busy. One, the Senator Sharon, we didn't catch, because she was chairing a committee, and she had, I think, some bills up, so it was pretty hard for everybody to get there the whole time. And then, yeah, the other senator was busy too. Rosen was only there for a short time, because she had a lot of other things going on. Then did have on after that, there was the men's that night, the Thursday night, the men's United Way, or Wednesday night United Way. I went to that. That's actually had a couple hundred people there, and I don't know, they're trying to make up for some of the money that trying to get the United Way to reach their goal. They haven't quite reached it, but. Then I did have, we had RCF, as Kip mentioned. I also had our, a search committee for our Partners for Affordable Housing for the director.
Oh, yeah.
That's moving along. We're down to 4 candidates for interview this week, and then the following week, we'll have the final 2. We're gonna have to move this timetable up, because, trying to make sure that, our new director will be able to be with the, old one for several weeks to get the hang of it a little bit. Then we had, as Kip mentioned, Micah, and yeah, we had a good presentation on child protection. Also got a little discussion on the Dayton's, the governor's buffer zones for the farm fields, and that of course has some negativity to it. Some of the members that either if they're farmers or not, you just yeah. I think people are aware they really want to have, do want clean waters everywhere, but there has to be some practicality to this, and of course, as Keith Carlson mentioned to the group, the house author is a farmer, so he's going to I think try to steer it in the right direction. Yeah, it's a good thing. To get take care of everything that way. Yep, GMG, mayors and clerks, and that does it for me too, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Drew?
Okay, sure. Of course, we all were at the last board meeting, March 3rd. AMC was on 4th and 5th. Just wanted to make a quick comment about the Environment and Natural Resource Policy Committee. And we did talk about that, the governor's request for the 50-foot buffers. Of course, just as a reminder, we all know all streams and all lakes have had that state rule for years, and so the 50-foot buffer on all those remain the same. And then there's two people there actually talked about this, that the intent, and this was 2 or 3 days before the proposed statute came out, proposed bill from the government. Mm-hmm. So they were hashing over language and things. But that the intent was, if they're going to include ditches, it was supposed to include ditches, from what we understand, that had a regular stream bed and regular occurring high water mark on it. Almost, what it sounded like to me, almost like a channelized stream type of a situation, more so than just every ditch that exists. So I don't know, they're trying to probably differentiate somehow there, and that's very hard to do. Mm-hmm. Very difficult. Yeah. So if they can get that done, it might be helpful. And then another interesting point, which I had brought up once with the board, was that they talked about the MPCA doing a review of their water quality rules for what they call anti-degradation standards. And so that'd be like if you take a crystal clear stream, let's just say, it gives you a good example, and there's some development proposed near that stream. how much will they allow that stream to be degraded so they could have a limit on it? Instead of using the bottom standards we have now on current streams and rivers, they're reviewing what would they do, let's say, at the headwaters of, you know, Itasca, Mississippi River, where the water's really clean. What kind of development would they allow, and how far would they let the water to be somewhat polluted to allow for development, which might be important to that region? And so it's kind of a complex thing, and they're looking for feedback from people on that. It's kind of, it's very chemistry oriented. So they're looking for so many parts per billion and that sort of thing. But anyway, so we had good presentations there. I just recently started, was assigned, it's a research project basically through Region 9, and they received a grant for Climate Change Adaptation Task Force. And instead of looking at mitigation, which is one we're very familiar with, it's looking at how communities will be impacted if and when weather goes through extreme changes. And it's a specific period of time, just through next year. And we'll meet probably every few months and have goals that we need to meet as we go along and try to develop. It's almost like a community health assessment, looking at what populations are more at risk, what areas of the state might be in our region more at risk, and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a new thing. It's kind of interesting to quite a variety of people that are on that task force. And then I've been meeting recently with the E2020, the KPA portion of it, which is the key performance area, is the community development portion. And so that's with Greater Mankato Growth is helping to put that together. We're looking at reviewing the past, you know, years of working with E2020 and where are we going in the future for the next, even just the next, what would it be, 5 years, to see what kind of adjustments we need to make in that plan. And then, of course, I attended part of that solar ordinance discussion with P&Z with you guys. That was great. I thought it was very interesting. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I was really glad I could make part of that. And the work session we had on the 10th, a joint meeting with Nicollet County. We had some very lively discussion there. Remember?
Oh, yeah,
And,
that's right.
we were all there.
Yeah,
so
we
you all
forgot
get
that.
credit for it. And so was Bob. And anyway,
I don't think I was there.
I know you were there, Vance. I know you were there. But we had quite a discussion, I thought, about several topics that was pretty interesting and helpful. And then, of course, department heads on the 11th, mayors and clerks on the 12th, and I echo the development of our Blue Earth County Historical Society and their vision and how they're taking over that rest of that building that they've been in, where the Summit Center or the Senior Citizen Center used to be, which was under Vine's direction. They really are going to be able to utilize all that space. It's just amazing, you know? And they look forward to the capital campaign to help remodel some of it. And then meeting with Phil and Bob to talk about some local county issues. And then GBERBA, Greater Blue Earth River Basin Alliance Policy Committee, we met on the 13th and conducted some business and looked at the future, what kind of projects we're going to do and what kind of grants we're going to apply for. So that's about it. Thanks a lot, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Will?
Okay, of course, at the AMC conference on Wednesday, March 4th, we had our Public Safety Policy Committee. We started the day out and we met with the Health and Human Services Policy Committee for the first hour. We had a report from the Mental Illness Task Force. Brought up a lot of topics that are part of the county, and so we'll continue to work through that. And then we went back into the Public Safety Committee, and we talked about juvenile justice issues, primarily the juveniles sentenced to life sentences without parole. There's a push right now to remove that sentencing aspect from the juvenile justice, which probably is a pretty good idea. Then we had the legislative update. We dealt with the legislative issues. Probably one of the primary ones there was the idea of giving felons who are not incarcerated the right to vote. We did not approve that in our committee, but I understand that the general government did, and AMC will be supporting that. So I don't see it as a bad thing that they're supporting it. Then that afternoon, I had the board of directors meeting. On the following morning, probably the one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet was I attended Managing Minnesota's Groundwater Resources, one of the breakout sessions. Very interesting. Talked about groundwater becoming scarce in some regions of the state. I think we're in better shape where we're at than some areas, but still it's something that we'll have to address as time goes on. And of course that afternoon then we had the met with our legislators. Again, I agree that it was great to have everybody together in one spot. Then on the 9th I had the Brown County Evaluation board meeting in New Ulm. Not a lot to report there other than continues to be a good organization, doing a lot of serving us very well. Then of course the work session and the joint meeting with Nicollet County has been mentioned, and the department heads on the 11th. The 12th I had attended the library directors meeting at TDS. There was some, I wanted to talk about how ACHF grants were awarded to the different libraries. I think we had a good discussion on that. Then of course the Greater Mankato Area Growth meeting at noon, and then mayors and clerks that evening. And then on Friday the 13th I attended a meeting in Lake Crystal with the Crystal Waters Project. This group is working to clean up Crystal Lake over there. They've got a lot of good ideas. They had a presentation from a company out of the cities on they're proposing biofilters for the streams and ditches that are coming into the lake, and then some floating islands that will actually help clean up the lake. Surprisingly, the price tag isn't as bad as you would think, but that, along with other things, I think that group is doing some wonderful things over there, and I think we'll continue to stay in touch with them as they move forward. That's my report.
Well, I got a lot of the same as everybody else had. The AMC Legislative Conference, since the chair and vice chair were gone for the transportation steering, they placed me as chair that day, and of course the main thing is funding. Talking on transportation, we had MnDOT Commissioner Charlie Zelle talk. And whether you agree with him or not, he's always a very friendly person. He's been very good to counties and going out and getting ideas. We had our MVAC dinner on the 7th, and on the 9th my wife and I actually toured the MVAC food hub. Joe brought us through there, and what an amazing place. Man, when they really get that thing up and running, it's going to be exciting to see what MVAC does. We had a work session on the 10th. I had a short Children's Museum board meeting on that day, because then we met with Nicollet County. On the 11th, I had an executive board meeting for Habitat for Humanity, and then we had a department head meeting. On the 12th, I was in Redwood Falls for a Southwest Region Safe Harbor Conference on sexual exploitation. Proud to say that we had two of our assistant county attorneys there, and we had officers from City of Mankato and Nicollet County that were there and presented. So we had, it was really a very good conference. On March 13th, All Seasons Arena Board meeting. I met with Bob for the agenda for today. And I had a NACO Transportation Steering Committee conference call with Transportation Secretary Anthony Fox, and he spoke on President Obama's Grow America Act, which is a 6-year transportation bill. And he also talked about the $500 million Tiger grant that they're working on. That evening, I attended Habitat for Humanity's Home Tweet Home. Myself and Commissioner Campbell were there.
You tweeted together?
We tweeted together
I got one
and
of
actually brought home a few birdhouses. So,
I got one.
do you got one? Did you get?
I got one of the benches.
All right. Did you get one of those blue benches?
I don't know how to move it though.
Oh, the thing's huge? The thing's heavy?
Who made it? Chris Steele or somebody out there?
Yeah,
made it?
Chris Steele made
They're
it.
made out of
It's like
metal?
250 pounds.
Yeah, they're huge.
Don't call me.
Anyway, that's the end of my report.
Sentence for
Let's see. We have our Geocom server project contract with Deputy Mike Mauer, and he's all ready to come up and grace us with his presence.
Morning, Mike. Morning, Mike.
Morning.
Morning, Mike. How are you, sir?
Good, good.
You got your green on today?
No.
Oh, there is, actually, there's
green
some
on the badge.
right on the badge.
The
It
shirt
is.
looks almost light green though.
Yeah.
And there's green on your badge there?
I guess.
Yeah, close enough.
We'll say that anyway.
All right.
You've got Irish in you too, don't you?
Little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. I'm here, we're proposing on upgrading our GeoLinks automated vehicle location mapping system software. We've tested it over the course of this project's about a year in the making. We've tested it on the field, and what it is doing is, to give kind of a brief summary, is that all of our mapping system, all the maps have to be downloaded into the each mobile unit, so that it takes a lot of memory to download all these maps, and they progressively have to be pulled up and upgraded all the time. This new software now is a web-based software, so we'll put a server in it's web-based, so that'll update automatically. The AVL is faster, more responsive, so that we can get better mapping. We run into some discrepancies with the current software, with connection issues and stuff. And it allows us to do, upon arrival, we can do what I call like GIS mapping. They can see, give an aerial photo of the area that they're pulling into, so if we pull in and we have suspicious people in buildings or something, we can pull an aerial map to kind of see what the buildings and stuff look like around the area, so there's just a little more heads up.
So it's got a GPS system built into it that tracks it, right? Tracks
Oh,
the
yeah,
car.
yeah, the dispatch can see where the car is, the guys in the car can see where their partners are at, and they can see where all the other cars
Wow,
are at.
it's amazing.
And what we've done is we've tried to speed up the efficiency too. With this system, we're moving to closest car dispatching. Before, and Will can vouch to this, and Vance also, is that they would just call a car number and send you to a car, and if you were closer, you'd speak up on the microphone and say, well, I'm closer to that, I'll grab it. Now with this system, we're trying to enhance our timeliness to calls by dispatcher being able to see where the call is, seeing which car is the closest, and sending the closest car first. So it helps in that matter. And if all of a sudden we know that times are changing a little bit here, if one of our officers would step out on a traffic stop and not call out or be ambushed and nobody responds from them, the car's on the map and we can get people there to see where they're at. So, I mean, we have it now, we're just enhancing our ability to do it better with off of the web-based. The nice thing about it is this, the upgrade is expensive, it's $86,000. Some of that's with the new server and some of the training and stuff like that, and the service agreements initially as it comes out. But it does qualify to be used out of the EU911 funding, which is the fund that we recoup for every phone service that's available. We get a portion of that tax. So we can use that fund to pay for this upgrade. It does qualify.
Is this on the, on your budget?
Is this on,
On the sheriff's budget?
It actually, the E911 fund is a separate budget it doesn't come out of capital. It's out of that E911 fund, which is that cumulative budget based every year because of, that 911 funding that goes. So it's not actually, we didn't have it logged in our capital budget. Again, this project is over a year old, and I don't list it in capital when it comes out of the E911 fund, because if it listed as capital, then you'd levy for it. If it's E911, it's already there. It's a cumulative fund that grows year after year.
So it's already,
The funds are there for it, you do not have to levy for it.
okay, so the funds are there for it. Well, this isn't an extra amount, we're not taking extra money out of our general fund.
Correct.
That's what I need.
I'd move approval.
Second.
What's the only, how long is this, it says it's a contract, so how long is that?
The contract itself is, a 3-year agreement, and that's for some of the, maintenance fees and something like that, so that'll always readjust and upgrades, but the contract, and that's just a portion of this, and that's that 3680 initial. Some of the others is software. And then as that product gets older and the upgrades, sometimes the maintenance fees go up, sometimes they go down, you're kinda at liberty over the course of 3 years.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, if there's no additional comments
Sounds good.
or questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Been passed. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Well, let's, jump right to the board minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed. Let's do our bills.
Move bills. I might have a lot of questions. Second.
You might. All in favor say aye. Oh, wait a minute, we do have some questions.
Gotta have some discussion.
Oh,
Ray's really right,
thought we
trying to
were
run
right
through
through that one, didn't we?
Boy, you thought you'd sneak that one.
All right, any questions, comments?
I just had a couple.
That's two, right?
Yeah. In a lot of places, it just says, for meals for people, it'll say meals or fees for meals or something. Another one, it'll say taxable meals. What's the difference, Bob? I just wanted to find out.
Based on the IRS regulations, if a staff person spends the night out of town, those meals are not taxable. But if they're just away during the day, it is a taxable income item to the employee.
I gotcha. I knew there had to be something like that. I just, thought it was. And then, NAC, mechanical and electrical building improvements in the first week, for $14,915. I was just curious what that was for, what that bill was for.
Those were some repairs and installation of building automation equipment. So related to our card key access and maybe something to do with our HVAC.
In general, I mean, he's got some repair equipment and that
Right.
sort of thing. And then there's the one that I had never heard really before, and it said deferred comp, which I thought was unusual, because I didn't know we had a deferred comp that was called Voya Financial. And it says $200 even, and I didn't know if that's, what's Voya Financial, and I didn't know that we had deferred comp attached to that.
Voya, I believe, is a life insurance company.
Yeah. So we have some kind of deferred comp that's attached to it?
I believe so.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. And then, Marsh and McClellan Agency, other fees on the second week was $10,260. Sounds like an Irish, attorney firm.
We have one of those sitting right here, you know that.
Yes, it could even be Scottish. Because St. Patrick was originally from a river area that is now Scotland. And so his original town, I think he was actually Scottish.
You don't get,
That was a invoice for the Ponderosa landfill, but I don't have a lot more information on it, so I could look that up when I get back to my office if you'd like.
Yeah, it'd be fun to just know what it was. $10,000. That should do her.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Bills have been passed. And Mr. George Leary, we're gonna have our planning and zoning.
Lindsay, good morning.
morning, George.
Are you going to start
Morning, Mike.
our public hearing on this, George?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Go ahead, George.
PC 01-15 is a request from Bruce and Gwendolyn McGregor Family Share Trust for a conditional use permit to construct one additional total confinement swine finishing barn capable of holding 1,000 pigs. Said request will utilize a below barn liquid manure storage area. The proposal will increase the total number of pigs to 4,000 or 1,600 animal units. The site is located in the agriculture district in the northeast quarter of Section 27 Mapleton Township. Mr. Schulte presented the staff report. The applicants were not present. There was no public comment. There was little discussion by the planning commission. Members of the commission agreed to the report provided by the staff and agreed to the conditions recommended by staff. Following the discussion, the planning commission voted unanimously to forward the recommendation of approval of the request to the county board, and the board action is for the resolution. One additional comment on this. Yesterday, county staff received a letter from Miss Satale Talon. The letter expressed concern with housing of the animals, flavor of the meat, and intelligence of the pigs. The individual is opposed to the approval of this feedlot proposal and the feedlot proposed by the Bundys. And that letter wasn't received in time for the planning commission meeting, but I do have a copy of it here if you'd like a copy of that.
Well, even a copy afterwards would be nice, unless you have those copies later.
Yep,
You got them, Mike?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
You just hand them all to the board.
There you go.
Well, I know that there's been more, in the media about this lately too, about confinement of animals and how much space they have and that sort of thing. It's been in the media more in the last year, I think, than I remember. But, they already have 3 barns there, I believe, don't they? Hog operations.
On the McGregor proposal, yes.
This one's just gonna be one right alongside of it.
Yep, it'll be a 4th barn identical to the other 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's good, I got to read that. Interesting.
We have no other comment.
Oh, okay. I just have a question, then a couple questions about it. And I did.
Public hearing first.
Oh, you want it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, sorry.
All right. Well, then now we'll have our chance for our public hearing. If anybody wishes to speak on PC 0115, please come to the podium. State your name and address. If anybody wishes to speak on PC 0115, please come to the podium and state your name and address. Third and final time, anyone wishes to speak on PC 0115, please come to the podium and state your name and address. All right. What's the wishes of the board?
I would move for approval.
Second. Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
I just have one.
Yep.
We're taking it out of the public meeting then right now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I just have a few questions to the staff about it.
Please.
Comments. I know that, I wrote a note to Scott too, just in general, to get some, because I'm still learning a lot about, what goes on with the licensing or permitting, I guess it was more correctly called, of confinement operations. And, when there's a new addition like this to the site that's already they already have production going on, and it's no mention in there that they have to adjust their manure plan, their manure management plan
Mhm.
for, I think it's pretty much general language in all of them. How does that happen? I'm just curious, do they ever show it to anybody, or does anybody ever look at it to see if they actually possess the land to spread, they have enough room to spread manure for adding a whole nother building like that? That's just one of my questions that I have.
Well, the manure management plan requirements vary depending on the size of the feedlot. Any facility over 300 animal units must have a manure management plan, and it must be updated annually to adjust changes in soil conditions, manure production, field availability. So they'll have each of these proposals submitted a manure management plan that met the MPCA requirements. There's different types of plans as well. I believe the McGregor proposal is a transferred ownership, so they sell manure to, or goes onto a cropland that they don't manage. There's different levels of reporting requirements too, that they have to get back records on where the manure went and at what the application rates and
Oh, I see.
everything like that from that third party.
I see. So they don't have the land, they're selling their manure off to some other farmer or some distributor or something.
Typically a neighboring farmer, it's, yeah, a pretty standard practice for farmers who don't have their own livestock.
Okay. And then, does anybody, and the second part of my question is, does anybody ever check on that? That's all. Does it ever get looked at?
Well, the sites get inspected roughly every 4 years, and at that time I am reviewing the manure management plans, typically looking at as many years as they have on hand, typically between 1 and 3, reviewing what the plan was, where the manure actually ended up, and at what rate. So that's part of our process.
Okay.
The McGregor facility has a NPDES permit through the MPCA as well, and they also review, I believe annually, they submit an annual report to the PCA that includes all those records that they're required to keep as well.
Oh, okay. So they have some requirements as a business to report their manure management plan to the MPCA once in a while, or
I believe it's annually, but
annually? Oh, I was just curious. And then, I know it's in all of them. I've always wondered, I don't know what kind of measures there are, but we always have those little bullet points with all the different little things that that are standard in our ordinance that says what measures are typically taken to there's measures taken to minimize or control offensive odor and fumes and dust and that sort of thing. What measures can a person do? Are there measures that are taken for if there's, say, a neighbor that's always getting maybe some of the fumes or some of the other measures taken by hog operations, or is that just kind of in there as maybe they can do something with the way the pit's designed, or maybe the way it's vented, or I mean, I don't know, I'm just curious.
The newer barns are designed much better than the older barns, a lot of them. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, you guys, but I think they use the chimney concept where the odors go up higher and are less offensive. So I think that the design is much better than it used to be.
So I see we have language like that, so it makes me wonder, does it really mean anything, is what I guess I'm saying, is if we're gonna have it in the ordinance, is there any teeth to it, or does it mean anything?
Well, the setbacks are also the mitigation problem, that helps.
From the next house?
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, setbacks are part of that.
Okay.
And if they get to be more controversial, we'll talk about filters and other things, lines of trees, that stuff all gets talked about.
Like a
Planning
berm or
zone,
something,
yeah,
or-
berm, there's all kinds of different things that get talked about at P and Z, but, we have our standards in place, and every now and then we'll deviate from that, but not very often. I mean, we got a pretty good plan in place, and it seems to be working pretty well.
Yeah, I would say, Commissioner, that the primary means of reducing the odor from a feedlot site is, as Commissioner Brunder indicated, the setback requirements. So when the feedlot ordinance was first adopted, then that looked at the primary or predominant wind directions, and that determined if it should be 1,500 feet or 1,000 foot setback from the nearest neighboring or from any neighboring residence. Some other things, was mentioned here, biofilters. I was just thinking about that the other day. Biofilters really has not been discussed much for I've seen in the swine press lately at all. And I don't know, I think maintenance was a big deal with that. I do believe they work in reducing the odor where there are issues, and maybe, say an existing feedlot that can't meet the feedlot to dwelling setbacks and wants to expand.
Yeah.
It might be a mitigating feature that could be used to allow for expansion of an existing site, again, that does not meet setback requirements. Maintenance of those is probably difficult, to say the least, because of the type of material they're built with. Other situations where they've used different types of things to mitigate the odor is actually spraying oil inside the facility to keep the dust down, because the dust is carrying, the dust particles are carrying the odor with them downwind. That creates another set of problems can you imagine spraying oil in a facility, not is it vegetable oil, and the cleanup potential problems that could create too. So there are mitigating ways to control the odor. We have not received any complaints from this site in the 10 years that it's been up already.
Okay.
But on occasion we do receive complaints. And one last thing, the MPCA does allow 21 calendar days a year for sites when they're pumping out manure to exceed the hydrogen sulfide limitations.
Okay.
They have to call in to our office and leave a message with Mr. Schulte or whoever and state the days that they're applying it, and they can't exceed that. Now, if it's just the site itself that's operating and exceeds the hydrogen sulfide limit, then the MPCA would get involved but again, normal day-to-day operations, they cannot exceed that hydrogen sulfide limit. But when they're hauling out manure, they have 21 calendar days a year to do, to exceed that.
Okay.
If they call in and take advantage of it.
allowable. Yeah.
Right.
And then the other thing that you don't have to answer today is, I wanted to find out more about the shoreline district changes that are gonna take place on that ditch 95, but we can do that.
Okay, yeah, that's not,
No, it was listed in there. It's listed in the, you made comments about it in this proposal for the CUP. And, unless you wanna talk about it now, I don't know if that has any effect on it, but, I'd like to learn more about that. So, yeah, we can do that later.
to keep this going, could you just contact Commissioner Campbell later and talk to him about that?
Sure. Did you by chance receive my email on that this morning? No?
I haven't looked.
Okay.
There.
Very briefly on that, and Mr. Schulte can comment on it too, is that ditch apparently is incorrectly labeled as a protected water feature, and therefore includes shoreline district, but it's not. It's a county ditch, and it's just subject to the county ditch regulations. So it either is in the process or will be in the process of being reclassified. It will not be in the shoreline district or include shoreline district, which is 300 feet out, and will not be subject to the 50-foot vegetative buffer requirement either. When that'll happen, I don't know right now today, but it is incorrectly classified as a protected water today. And even if considering that if it was protected water, the proposed building far
should be
exceeds
okay.
the setback
Yeah, look at the
requirements,
setbacks.
right? So we felt there was something to include in there in the staff report in case it came up, but it is probably may not be relevant to this feedlot request, but it is
Just
nearby.
A point, yeah.
Any other questions?
Nope.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? PC 0115 is passed. We'll go to the Darwin and Monica Bundy, PC 0215. I'd like to take this time, open it to public.
Gotta do the report.
Report.
Oh, okay, you're right. I'm just jumping today.
We're a little behind schedule, you're getting.
You're just trying to move us along.
I am trying to move us along.
Yes.
All right, go ahead with PC 0215.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. PC 02-15 is a request from Darwin and Monica Bundy for a conditional use permit to construct one total confinement swine finishing barn capable of holding 2,400 finishing pigs. Said request will utilize the below barn liquid manure storage area. The request is located in the agriculture district in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of section 33, Shelby Township. Mr. Schulte presented the staff report. The applicants were present and had no comment. There was no public comment. The planning commission indicated that the report was thorough and the request was straightforward. There was no further discussion. Following the discussion, the planning commission voted unanimously to forward the recommendation of approval of the request to the county board, and the board action is for the resolution.
All right. Now, at this time, we'll open for public comment. If you would like to make a comment regarding PC 0215, please come to the podium, state your name and address. If you'd like to make a comment to PC 0215, please come to the podium, state your name and address. Third time, if you'd like to make a comment on PC 0215, please come to the podium and make your comment. All right, what's the wishes of the board?
Move approval. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
I just have one.
Go ahead.
I wanted to say I appreciate the fact that you identified, you know, in your review of the site and of the land that's right there, that you found that there was maybe needed to be a wider buffer from the river on some of their land, and you put that in the PC request, and to add that section, because I know we're pretty good in our county for all in all. I think we're over 90% compliant, and this will just inch us even closer to that 100% expectation of a 50-foot buffer from streams and rivers, and so I appreciate that.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Been passed. And now we'll go to PC 0315. Go ahead, George.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. PC 03-15 is a request from Irene Thompson for a conditional use permit to transfer the residential development right from the southwest quarter of Section 33, Garden City Township, to the northwest quarter of the southwest quarter, also located in Section 33, Garden City Township. The property is zoned agricultural and conservation and is located within the shoreland overlay district of the Watonwan River. Mr. Ifa, who is a county intern, planning and zoning intern, presented the staff report. The applicant was present and had no comment. There was no public comment. The planning commission expressed no issue with the request and had no questions. Following the discussion, the planning commission voted unanimously to forward a recommendation of approval of the request to the county board, and the board action is a resolution.
All right. This time we'll open this up for public comment. If you'd like to make a comment regarding PC 0315, please come to the podium. If you'd like to make a comment on PC 0315, please come to the podium, state your name and address. If you'd like to make a comment on PC 0315, please come to the podium, state your name and address. All right, no public comment. What's the wishes of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? Comments?
Looks good to me. I mean, it looks, they own property there, and you're just you're just transferring the development rights up to the next section right above it. And
Correct.
and it looks like it's a nice location. It's not like over a big steep bluff where you worry about erosion, hopefully.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's been passed. Thank you
Thank you,
so
gentlemen.
much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, George.
And you guys are so green. It's nice to see the St. Patrick's Day is just filtering in planning.
You'll fill us in
zone.
on the feedlot stuff next time?
We do have
He's got a
one other feedlot report.
One other feedback
actually.
report.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just seeking county board commissioner signature on the 2014 annual county feedlot officer report and performance credit report. This is a summary, just reporting to the MPCA with our delegation agreement, summary of inspections through the year, different type of permitting, and just kind of an overall summary of activities I performed in the last year. I don't know if the board has any questions on that, or...
I got a hold of Scott and asked him a couple questions, and he helped me a little bit with that. I'm still just a little bit on the edge about understanding it, so the difference between a level 1 inspection versus a level 2, you know, inspection. I'm just a little bit curious.
The level 1 inspection is kind of just a basic records check, making sure they're keeping records and that they exist. Level 2 is kind of a more thorough accounting for, where you thoroughly go through all the manure applications, and you usually need 2 or 3 years of complete records to do that, to verify the phosphorus buildup isn't an issue, and look at the longer term trends. Level 1 is kind of the basic, and level 2 is attempting to do one on every site over 300 animal units. Sometimes they don't have the records on hand because it's a newer level of inspection, so it's kind of a learning curve currently.
Oh,
but,
okay.
so it's level 1 is kind of the basic. Level 2 is a much more thorough review.
Okay. And I noticed you mail out things to try to educate people, like in newsletters or whatever it might be. Maybe, is that part of the newsletter then too, is to let them know that level 2 inspection could happen if they got a 300 animal unit?
I don't think that was on the last one, but
Was
it
it?
might be a good idea for this year, so
Oh.
I'm working on that now. So.
Oh, okay, good, yeah. Well, thanks for all your efforts. I'm sure with all the hog operations we've got in our county, you're our primary man, aren't you, for person for taking care of all that?
For contact, yep.
Yeah.
And just a side note, we did just host a workshop that had about 50 people in attendance for
Oh, good.
training on
Great.
manure spreading issues. so.
Wonderful.
That's good.
Do you
Okay,
want a motion to accept this
do you
report?
need a motion on this?
Please. I'll move it.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Just leave it for your signature later.
You bet.
Okay.
Give it to Jessie and she'll give it to me.
Actually, she has it already,
All right.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thanks,
Jeff.
All right. Our next thing is the Assistant County Attorney's pay plan. All
Say
right.
that real fast 10 times.
Yeah, let's do a tongue twister.
All right.
Morning, Scott.
Morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Scott,
Good morning, Scott.
how are you this morning?
Well, I would initially like to apologize for not wearing green. My wife is a maiden named Riley, and I'm a grandmother named Kennedy, so I'm going to be in huge trouble when I show up at home. So, hopefully this is not being
It is
televised.
recorded right now. so
It is
just-
television, and we're gonna make sure
You
she,
should say
we're
it publicly then.
gonna make sure she sees it then too.
If there's a Riley bus in town, it's chasing me, so.
Well, I walk in and I see this beautiful tie that our chair is wearing, and I knew that I had my dollar store tie right here at home, and I ran home. I only live about 6 blocks away, so I ran home and changed ties for St. Patrick's Day.
I'm going to have to run home. It's not going to be that close. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Today, basically, I would like to go over a proposed resolution of the Assistant County Attorney's budget appeal. Basically, the background on this is that the parties met on January 29th, 2015 for a settlement conference. 2 commissioners attended, the county administrator, some assistant county attorneys, the attorney for the county attorney, and the county attorney himself attended the settlement conference. And I would note that this is the current county attorney's first opportunity to appear and formally weigh in on this process, and his presence was very beneficial and instrumental in getting this thing resolved and to you today. So I'd like to thank him on that process. At the settlement conference, the first point of order was the parties sat down and tried to identify a 2015 salary range that would be acceptable to all the parties involved and the judge. And basically what the judge had asked us to do is identify from the list of counties that he had put in his order a number of counties that we should use to narrow this down. And basically the county selected 3, the assistant county attorneys group selected 3, and we kind of tried to mash them together based on some somewhat comparable statistics. So based on that, the broad parameters of the settlement were developed using that as the 2015 salary range. The intent at that point was to have the county attorney sit down with the county administrator and place the incumbent assistant county attorneys on that range for 2015 using a merit concept and then work backwards. So at that, we had declared partial success in the settlement conference, and the county attorney and the county administrator did sit down and started to go through the process of developing where this would result if these individuals were on a merit system. The union at that point weighed in, requested that the county attorney consider the two ranges to be a step system rather than a merit system. The county attorney was fine with that. The county administrator, the county attorney then developed a 2015 range system with steps that is before you in our stipulation. The next step was that the county attorney then sat down again with the county administrator, weighed in on where those individual incumbent assistant county attorneys would be placed on the plan. That was accomplished, and then the parties said, okay, now we can work backwards to the 2014, 2013, 2012, figure out where they would have been if we had developed these systems back then. Again, the result before you is in the stipulation, Exhibit 1, that shows what the pay plans look like. Exhibit 2 is the placement in 2015 and the amounts that would be due and owing for the 4 years going backwards, 14, 13, and 12. So basically where we're at on this is I've looked at this stipulation, the county attorney's looked at this stipulation, the attorney for the county attorney's looked at this stipulation, we presented it to the union. They have not formally weighed in, well, they've weighed in on it, they're okay with everything to the best of my knowledge, but they've got a couple of questions that I think are still hanging. But with that, we've got a stipulation of the parties, an exclusive representative that we've got before you today. I'd be looking for a motion to approve on that. If approved by the board, we'll obtain the necessary signatures from myself, the county attorney, the attorney for the county attorney, and submit this to the court for formal review and approval. So with that, I'd be happy to answer the questions you may have.
Thank you. Could we get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right. Questions, comments?
I just have one question. So this, on page, I think it's 112 or something here, in the packet anyway, I don't know what the number is. It has, after you show the increases of each exhibit, then it goes down to the actual attorneys. We have Devos, Rovny, Hanson, Bubbles, Kelm, Hardy, and Hench. They've seen this too then, as a group, and they're agreeable to this proposal, or we got indications that way?
Commissioner, I believe that they've seen this actual document. I know their attorney has seen it. They've got some questions on how the calculations were arrived at. They were working on that late yesterday afternoon to the best of my knowledge. But they've now seen it, and they've got questions on this, so on this specific placement.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Campbell, I did communicate with the business agent for the union late yesterday, describing how it was determined where people would be placed on the new pay scale and how we backed into the back pay, taking into consideration general wage adjustments as well as steps in the system to calculate the back pay, and I did not hear a response from the union after providing that information, so
Okay.
whether that answered their questions or not, I can't say for sure.
Isn't it true though that the lawsuit and everything was between the board and the county attorney? It wasn't between the union and the board?
Mr. Chair, that is correct. This lawsuit is technically between the county attorney and the Board of Commissioners. We included the union basically, and I'd say it's more than a courtesy because we would like to get the parameters of all of these union contracts buttoned up on wage issues as well, so that we can just move on into other issues. But you're right, the requirement for the court is going to be the county attorney and the commissioners sign off on this.
And I really appreciate being on the group that negotiated this, myself and Commissioner Brunder, our County Attorney Pat McDermott, Bob, yourself, Mr. White. I think we did a very good job. That one day we sat down on the 19th or the 29th and really had was one of those discussions that we needed to have a long time ago, and it was very, very positive, had some positive feedback from both sides, and came to a very good understanding. Nobody came out a winner, but everybody won, because we got done with, I think one of the big things that we really need to push and let people understand that this was a wage negotiation. We have absolutely nothing as a board against our county attorney's office. I mean, they do an amazing job for the personnel they have. Blue Earth County, the city of Mankato is growing consistently. Along with that, civil services and our crimes are going up. And who gets to work on all those issues but our assistant county attorneys? So we know they do an amazing job. It's just that this was a wage negotiation that we finally came to a settlement with.
The judge will have to approve this once.
That is correct.
Okay.
And the judge was there on the negotiations also, so. Correct.
That is correct.
Okay.
I would just like to echo some of the other comments that I made. I mean, there's a lot of staff time put into this negotiations from our, human resources department and, from our administration all the way down to the, secretaries. A lot of people put a lot of time into this, so I'm glad we've reached an agreement, and I appreciate all the county staff and that have worked so hard on it.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Yeah, we had a chapter that we finished here, and that hopefully we move forward, and we've learned a lot from it. I think everybody has been involved, so.
Yeah, it's been a learning process.
Just to move forward and keep the county working, so.
Any more comments? Well, with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's been passed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Scott.
We're gonna take a short break, and we'll come back in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
Welcome back. All right. We have a ditch hearing on County Ditch number 28. Is the removal of benefits hearing. Craig, you want to lead this off?
This is actually a removal of benefits hearing for County Ditch 28 and Judicial Ditch 15. This is actually a continuation of the November 18th, 2014 hearing. The original hearing notice for the original meeting was mailed on October 31st. The original hearing was published in the Blue Earth County website. November 18th, the hearing was continued to a time date uncertain, which is today at 10 o'clock today. But we also we also did send a letter to the landowners. That's just a reminder that the hearing was continued to today, and that was mailed out on March 4th. And that's it for any jurisdictional documents.
Okay. And we'll now hear from the petitioner and the petitioner's attorney. Could you state your name and...
Sure. Good morning. My name is Jeff Bregelman. I'm a lawyer at the Gislason and Hunter Law Firm at New Ulm, Minnesota, and I represent John McMonigal, who's here this morning, as the petitioner. As I recall, one of the reasons for the continuance of the hearing was that last time the board felt it needed to have some more information about Mr. McMonigal's project. So we got that additional information in the interim, and I have submitted it to the board, and I know it's part of the packet that you received in advance of the hearing. Since we were last here, we located copies of the engineering report that was prepared through Bowser when Mr. McMonigle did his restoration project. And you'll remember that's in a permanent easement. The land that we're talking about now is in a permanent easement. Several basins were restored as part of that project, and the engineering report for the project talks about those basins, the effect of the restoration. It explains that tile was blocked and rerouted so that the property could not use the system. And then I also reached out to Mr. McNabo, Tim McNabo. He's the engineer that prepared that report for Bowser. He is not with Bowser any longer. He's gone on to a different position. But I provided him with a copy of his engineer's report and asked for his comments on that report, and he sent me a letter that I included in your packet as well. So our hope is that that additional information puts the board in a position to make a decision today about Mr. McMonigle's petition. What we think is especially important about the report is, not just that the engineer explains the nature of the restoration that was done and the basins that were created and restored, but he talks about the effect that that has on the water in the area and the flow of the water. And I highlighted what we think are the significant portions of his report. You should see that language highlighted in yellow in his report. He talks in particular about the basin that he refers to as basin number 1, and how that is restored with an overflow elevation of 988 feet, and gives his analysis and opinion that rain events would be stored in that basin without any discharge over the ground to the north toward 28, County Ditch System 28. He also makes the observation that even if there were to be some overflow from that natural basin, the water would have to flow approximately 1,100 feet, 1,100 feet, through native grasses to reach the county system. He also offers his opinion that the work Mr. McMonigle did benefits the county tile system because of the storage it provides. Obviously that's water that's not using the system or putting a burden on the system. In my first submission, I talked about the statute that we're operating under that was amended in 2010. So I won't go over all that, except to say that the crucial issue or the crucial question that has to be answered under the statute is this. Now that you know more about what's the situation on Mr. McMonigle's property, the basic question is this. Have the waters been diverted from the drainage system? Or do we have a situation where Mr. McMonigle's property cannot significantly or regularly use the county drainage system? So either diverted, or we've got a situation where his property does not significantly or regularly use the system. And we talked last time about how that was the key change in this law in 2010, especially that part, that basic test. Is it possible that his land would significantly or regularly use the system? The test is not. He has to prove that there's no way on God's green earth that water could never ever reach the drainage system. We think that's the case, but that's not the test. The test is, does his property significantly or regularly use the system? Obviously, John is here. He's happy to answer any other questions you have about the work that was done or what he's observed on his property since that work was done. We've gone back to the engineer who designed the project, given you his analysis because we understood that you just had some concern about that last time, that you wanted to have some additional analysis beyond just what John and I were providing you at the last hearing. We think we've done that. And we think when you look at that fairly, and you know, when a lot of other things were talked about at the last hearing, about the 2 drainage systems and other projects and the general state of the drainage systems and that sort of thing. We would just respectfully request that we focus on what's really the issue under Mr. McMonagle's petition. And that is simply, does he significantly or regularly use the drainage system? And we think that with the additional information we've provided, the board should be in a position to answer yes to that question. If that question is answered yes, then the statute tells us what the result is. That is that the property would be removed from the drainage systems because the water's been diverted or because it doesn't significantly or regularly use the system. I understand that a redetermination of benefits is underway for County Ditch 28, and that there is an improvement proceeding underway for County Ditch 28. It's my understanding that there are no proceedings pending currently on Ditch 15. I had a chance to visit with Craig a bit before the hearing began. The viewing is not done on the redetermination or on the improvement for County Ditch 28. And I'm hearing that there may not be hearings on those until sometime in June. And that may not even be certain. I suspect it's not. I think it's fair to say that part of the concern last time was how long is all this going to take? You know, the board continued the hearing to today. You know, there was no guarantee that viewers' reports would be in hand by today. But I think there was a legitimate concern on your part and certainly on John's part to keep this process moving along. Maybe there's some thought about further continuing today's hearing until those viewers' reports are in and hearings are held on them. Now, obviously that's up to you whether you do that or not. It really doesn't change the issue that's before you, though, on John's petition. Okay? The test is significant or regular use, not what the viewers are going to come back with on a redetermination. And, you know, we have a obvious and I think legitimate concern that this may just get continued indefinitely. And if we wait until the viewers' reports are in, is there then something else that's going to be needed or wanted before the board makes a decision? So I guess I just think that, you know, in good faith, we've gone out and got the additional information from the source that you requested last time. I think it puts you in a position to make a decision today, and that's what we'd ask you to do, is grant the petition today. If the board is going to continue today's hearing further, then if there is any other concern or question that the board has in its mind, some other information that they think is necessary beyond what we've already provided, then I'd like to know what that is. If you feel there's something else that we have to or ought to give you or provide you to make a decision beyond what we already have, I'd really like to know what that is. So, are there any questions of me about my comments or of John about the project or his property?
I guess I would just I'd like to say thank you very much for the engineering report. That did fill in a lot of details for me.
Okay. And frankly, we were hoping to avoid the expense of a new engineering report by going back to the guy who had engineered this thing in the first place. So we were able to do that. Anything else?
Any more comments, questions for him? All right.
Thank you.
We will now open up the floor to comments from the public. The hearing is being recorded, so please come to the podium and make your comments, and please state your name and address for the record. Anybody from the public that wish to comment on this, please state your name and address. Thank you.
I'm Dwayne Bergerman. I'm from New Ulm, Minnesota, formerly from Garden City, and I have the 80 approximately, less than 40 rods west of of John's property. And, I disagree with allowing him to be out of the system. And I have a map here I wanna bring up to you so you guys can all see what I'm talking about. Well, if we can, let me see, let's get it a little closer so they can see it. They don't have that good of eyes.
You're right there.
Yeah, you got that right.
Okay, this square right here represents where John lives. That's the property that he lives on, okay? And as you go to the west from him, this is the property that they're talking about right here. There's 280s laying right in there. This being the ditch system, there's an open ditch coming like this, straight down like that. It comes through, and the bottom slash over here is the tile that's in question right now, that they're from here down to there is what we've been dinging with for 5 years, trying to get replaced, and we still haven't got the job done. This is the old tile here. This was my 80 laying right there. The county has put in a spur right in here so they could run their camera in so they could tell what was going on with the old tile. And it's plugged, is all it is. And so now with this thing coming here, and we have that little spur in there, hey, my 80 acts as a holding pond for all the water coming down. And this thing over here, what was tiled in 30 years ago till now, we're draining twice the amount of water that we used to have, and we gotta get this spur fixed, because there's been no problem raising my taxes another $10 an acre. I can't farm that out of it. I can't rent that property and get the kind of rent that I need to support these taxes if it's going to keep on playing with this part here. We just got to fix this little bit here. It wouldn't take them 3 days and they'd have that all fixed. But we're screwing with it. And if John says that this property, he's right in the middle of the whole thing, tell me, how can you possibly opt out of it? I don't understand. I mean, just because you got it in the CRP here, but you look at this right here. There's no possible way that you can possibly not get water drained out of there. There's a big tile coming from here, coming into the ditch right there, and this other stuff coming through here. Tell me how you opt out of that.
So that tile is gonna actually, be inside of the wetland area?
Yes, it's gonna be right in there. It has to come through there unless you go on the opposite side of the road and put it over there, but I don't know how else you can because there's already tile laying there. Tell me, how can you opt out of something like that?
So that tile, you mean, is an integral part of the rest of that drainage system?
Yes, it
that what you're
has,
saying?
all the water from all over here comes into this big open ditch here. When you get to this open ditch, it goes into a tile under the road, and then it goes through this old existing culvert that's through there that they put in some 30 years ago.
And that's still operating?
It's got about that much room. There's nothing there. You can't get rid of the water. Everybody down here gets flooded with all the water from here down on this end over here. And that's where the problem lays, and we've been trying and we've been waiting for these viewers. I don't know, they must have died or something, because I haven't seen one of them yet.
To see if that can be somehow remedied, you mean?
Well, the only way it can be remedied is put in a new plastic tile, and we got it going. I mean, how can we possibly not do it? I seen that on ditch 78, which runs from our property in Vern Center. The Melvins, years ago, when Bert Hansen put the thing through, they opted out. They didn't want in. The land got sold, and the new guys got tile running in there all over. So how can that possibly be? I mean, when you're in the middle of the system, you can't opt out.
So on that map, will that actual pipe be part of in the wetland? I mean, is it inside the wetland itself?
Part of the improvement, they'll be moving stuff around. Exactly how that's going to be moved around will be part of the improvement report. Whether it's going to go through here, that'll have to be, that'll be brought before the board in June.
Okay. And the elevation of that, see, the integral part here would be the elevation of that tile. Because
Well,
if his land is depressed lower, way down lower than that tile, it can't possibly flow into the tile. That's,
Well,
I think that's what I read, and that's what the report
the
sounds
lowest
like.
spot would be right in here is the lowest
I can't
spot
quite see, no.
of any of that water.
Point at that one more time, because I couldn't see it, maybe it's,
Okay.
can you see it?
The lowest possible spot in there, is, where am I? Okay, right here. You're talking about this little spot right in here, which takes in the south part of my 80 and the rest of this land. That has to be the lowest spot. You can watch the open ditch. It's a natural flow until it gets to the river down here.
And you're saying it doesn't sidestep his property enough to,
Well, it goes right straight through it. How in the world can it sidestep it? I mean,
Unless it's high
there is
enough.
no way, there's no way other than you'd have to take this open ditch and then come across the north side here and do that. Why change it when you already got, I mean, you're gonna be digging anyway. Why change the whole thing?
which tile, go ahead.
Am I missing something in the engineer's report that we just received? It says to maintain drainage for the existing private tile on property south of the easement, it will be rerouted? Has this been
Yeah, you can
rerouted with?
actually see that, the old route is in green, that's the
Yeah,
original
right
route.
there.
It was routed outside the wetland, this yellow line right here.
With non-perforated?
Non-perforated tile, so the people to the south have an outlet and it goes around non-perforated tile through here. That was
Okay.
what was done when they created the wetland.
Okay, so the county tile no longer goes through?
Technically, it was done as a repair, so technically this is considered county tile now.
That's considered county tile. What about, did they plug the branch that went through there then?
The old stuff, I'm assuming, I can't go back to the plans, but I'm assuming they blocked it, that they removed it or put a block in it.
Okay.
I'm looking at this, the map we were provided. Can you see where that is on there? The same spot you're just pointing, yeah, I don't see it. I'm just trying to see if you can see where that one spot is. Can you see where it is?
Oh, I gotta get my bearings here.
Yeah.
Okay, this, right in here, that's the open ditch coming down that blue line,
Okay.
okay? And then this is the tile right here, that
That is
line.
the tile.
That's the tile, yeah.
Okay, I was just curious, so I can get my bearings on there too myself.
Okay.
And then, can somebody point out the wetland part that's gonna be, it's not that whole red area, I mean, that's just. It's not the whole red area, is it?
No.
That's the drainage.
28, isn't it?
Yeah, the red area is the entire
Watershed for 28.
Yeah.
28.
Yeah. It's hard to see where your exact wetland is to the upper.
I don't know, if this is, I think, the same map that you have, you're looking
Yes.
at. You're right here, right kind of in the middle.
You're right.
Yeah, so here-
Right at the bottom edge then of
okay,
that.
you can see, State Aid Highway 30.
Yeah.
It's a little ways to the east there. You can actually see that it's looks like changing color because it's a wetland, it's the grasses.
Yeah, so like this is the wetland here. Right here, right? Right there. That's the wetland. Right there, this is the main open ditch right down here.
Open ditch, okay.
Right? You can see the blue water in the ditch.
Actually, yeah, well, it's right down here.
It's down there.
Yeah, that's on 28, and then the
Oh, I
15
see.
is
So it
down
is
below.
below.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, well, we'll come back.
Yeah.
What's your response to this, Craig?
As far as,
What he's saying?
okay, well, as far as the location of the tile, that is, yeah, the current location of the tile. A part of the engineer's report, when they do the improvement, they could be moving that. They could actually be moving everything to the north side of of Highway 13 there. I haven't seen the final report. That's one of the issues why we don't have a report right now, is because There seems to be a dispute even between some of the petitioners if that line should go on the north side of the road or south side of the road, open ditch, all tile. They need to narrow down their options. That seems to be the delay right now. It sounds like it'll be resolved very soon here though, that portion. And once that's resolved, the engineer will send the documents to the viewers, and then the viewers will finish their report.
You're one of the petitioners, aren't you, Dwayne?
Yes, I'm one of them.
Where are you at on your talks on that?
I don't know. I don't hear anything from anybody. That's why I figure,
Yeah.
see, if you leave this goal long enough, it dies and disappears. I'd say
Well, the
3 years ago,
water's not gonna
maybe
die.
in 3 years ago, when we were
Yeah.
at Lake Crystal at the rec center and we had the hearing there, it was decided, hey, it's gonna follow the old path, amen, and we were discussing, the only thing there was, do we do a 36-inch tile or a 42-inch
Yep.
tile? That was
Yep.
the big hang-up, and for the amount of difference in cost, you might as well go the 42. It can have that settling in it, and you still are gonna have capacity. And the reason I'm saying the capacity is, well, if you take a look how many farmers have tiled out to the northeast, that's all coming down that ditch. You got a ditch that's 30 feet deep and you try to go into a 36-inch tile, how in the world do you expect the water to get away? It don't make sense. This is on the Blacktop Road looking west from John's Place. You can kind of see how the road, I mean, it just slopes, naturally slopes to the west. A little bit. There's another one, it's the same thing.
I've seen these before.
And even if you're talking about that 80 where he's supposedly with this conservation deal, there is an intake on the field on the north side of 13. It's less than 30 rods away from the great big open ditch. So he's in the part of the system, so how can you possibly opt out a part of that one little spot? You can't opt out because the water goes in. You should be out of everything then everything's got to be out of it. I don't understand how you can opt out a part of the system.
You're saying there's a piece of that land that might actually drain into that.
Well, yeah, that open, that standpipe on the north side of 13 is there's where it comes out into the big bull ditch, right where it goes under the county road. How can you opt out of anything when you're dumping the water from one side of the road to the other side? There's no way you can get out of that.
Okay. We're going
To
to,
give you another idea, this is, from right down where the bull ditch is, you're looking back east at John's farm, you can tell it goes uphill. You don't need a viewer to get in there and do a survey on it. I mean, it's natural flow. You can see it all the way.
we're going to give somebody else a chance to talk.
Pardon?
I think we got your message. I think we're going to give somebody else a chance to talk here.
Yep, I just
Okay.
wanted you to see this.
We saw it.
Yeah.
And I wanted
We
to get that
appreciate it.
point
Thank you
across.
very much.
Yeah, thanks,
So
Dwayne.
that's the top, the north, kind of northwest side of the wetland, it looks like. Right?
But thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
All right. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to come up and talk?
Good morning. I'm Dan Eberhardt. I live right in the area. Address is 470404 174th Street. Just a few comments on whether it be this petition or future ones and so forth. My concern is, first of all, everybody as farmers work together on that system to build a system. From day one, they put in tile, they put in open ditches and so forth, so everybody could farm the land. It worked great. A lot of these okay, that was many years ago, granted. Now it needs some fixing. We got the use of that tile, and now there needs to be some repairs and maintenance, which is fine. To keep farming, we need to get these repair and maintenance done. We need to work as a group. What's happening a lot of the farmers, you might say, are retiring or phasing out, and they like to sell their land. And now, as you know, some of this land is selling from 10 to 100 times more than what they paid for it. So, hey, let's sell it. We got this piece of ground that's got maybe a slough on it or a low ground, which is fine for the whole lifetime of farming. And we farmed around it, and the ducks had their little slough, and it may or may not be tiled, but it was fine. Today they want to sell their land, and they can get, like I say, 10 to 100 times more than what they paid for it. And who are they going to get to buy that land? Okay, you could sell it to the farmer next door, or you could sell it to the DNR, the government, or other groups out there that will pay a lot more for it. Okay, the farmer can't afford it because he can pay X dollars. The other groups will pay you more, but there's a stipulation. We don't want to pay for the taxes, or we may not want to pay for any extra tile put in, or we don't want to pay this or this or that. And so the guy selling the land has to decide, okay, do I want to sell it to the farmer and get X dollars, or do I want to sell it to the government and get maybe twice as much? Oh, let's sell it. I'll retain, and he needs to retain the responsibility. He agreed in day one that, hey, we need a tile system. I'll pay for it. Everybody pays their share. Now we're saying, oh, I don't want it. I don't want to get out. I want to get out of that agreement because I can get a lot more money from another group, and I'll capitalize a lot more. And now if I get out of my responsibilities, that's 100% profit of what I could have sold it to the farmer. If you would have sold it to the farmer, he'd have kept farming it and kept paying the assessments for tiling and so forth. Now what's happening in Lincoln Township, granted, there's always been water issues. I mean, there's some low ground, which is great for the ducks and wildlife. Okay, but what's happening is this person wants to sell, that person wants to sell, this person wants. See, now we don't have a ditch system. They all sell. The rest of us cannot afford to keep the system going. So what do? We sell the whole field and township to the government or to the Fish and Wildlife, or I guess I'm in the belief that when you enter an agreement, whether it's I make an agreement with a neighbor saying I can tile through his ground, that is recorded and that goes with the farm. So when you sell your land, whether it's if you can't, you retain that responsibility. If you can sell it with the farm, great. If you can't, you still retain it. I have some land that I farmed 20 years ago that the landlord decided he would sell it to the CREP. And he was responsible for any weeds, he was responsible for taxes, he was responsible for volunteer trees or anything that came up in that ground. Okay, but he got a lot more money than he would selling it to me or another farmer, to CREP. So he sold the ground and retained the responsibilities. Today, he is still, last year he was out there cutting volunteer trees. They came out and said, hey, there's some volunteer trees out there, we don't like it. It's supposed to be, it's not the real thing for wildlife. And so he's out cutting those trees. He still pays taxes on the ground. He still has to spray any noxious weeds. Okay, he held that responsibility because he sold his ground at a higher level. If he'd have sold it to me, I would have farmed it, still farming it today, and I would have been still paying any assessments and so forth. So I guess what I'm saying is, for the benefit of the farmers, we've got to keep everybody to their agreement. We agreed that we would pay our assessments. We would put tile in as needed, as the county found needed. When this tile went in originally, everybody had an access. You could tile your farm into it or not. It's your decision. Or if you wanted to tile half your farm or all your farm, it's your decision. Some decided not to tile, some tiled 100%, some tiled 50%. Just because you did not put tile in does not mean that you're not responsible for that open ditch. You have the ability to tile into it. I have land that I haven't fully tiled, but I pay the same for that county ditch whether I tile into it or whether I system tile my farm or don't. The price is the same. So here again, because they don't use the system, they say, well, hey, we want to set this ground aside for a different use in farming. They're still responsible because they have the access to that county tile. I guess that's all I have to say, and
Thank you very much.
I think there are a lot of things to take into consideration of what's going to happen down the line. Whatever you decide today, and I hope it's not today, I hope you review some of the problems and issues. Craig is aware of all of the issues out there, and if you start pulling this farm out, and then tomorrow you're going to have this farm, and the next day you're going to have that farm, what's going to happen to the county? Let's stay with the original agreement, and everybody work together as farmers, not as outsiders that want the ground for other uses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Anyone else that'd like to come up and talk? Yes?
Thank you. I'd just like to respond on a couple of points. This was part of the handout that I had along at the first meeting. It was in your, I handed it out, and it was a copy of a portion of the big plan that John had from the engineering, And I just want to be clear about this tile 28 that I think Mr. Bergman was talking about. The open ditch portion here, north of County 13. The tile comes in here into John's property. It used to come here through the wetland and then provide a connection to this landowner to the south. This is the basin the engineer talks about. Here's where that tile was blocked. That property can't, it's not connected to 28 anymore.
And it was rerouted around the outside.
And here's where it was rerouted.
With
So, does County Tile 28 run through the northwest part of John's property? Yes, it does. But his property has been disconnected from that system as part of the permanent easement that he agreed to.
Okay, thank you very much.
And, you know, as far as this pending improvement goes, remember we talked about this last time. Mr. Dieter was the one who made the point that for purposes of John's petition, you are looking at a moment in time, okay, a snapshot now. What are the conditions now on John's property? Does he significantly or regularly use the system now? If he doesn't, the statute says he can get out. But if this improvement project proceeds, and depending on what route it finally takes, maybe it will somehow affect John's property, and he would come back in as the result of that improvement proceeding. I don't know. It'll depend upon what the improvement looks like, what final route they choose, how the project is finally proposed. But the point is that a decision for John today should not depend upon what might happen in June or a year from now or 2 years from now as the result of the improvement, because that improvement is a separate proceeding. Our petition is asking you to look at the condition of John's property now, and, you know, this system wasn't created by agreement. It was created by statute. It was the statute that brought his property in, and it's the statute that now gives him an opportunity to have the property removed because he doesn't use the system, and in fact cannot use the system under the terms of the permanent easement that he has.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Craig, if he wanted to improve, if we accepted this petition today, and in like a year from now he wanted to improve and actually connect into the system, what would be the procedure? What would the county do?
If we remove the property?
Yeah, if we came out and accepted it today.
The petition.
The petition.
Yeah.
But a year from now he decided to...
The way I'd read the statute is that if he's not paying benefits for that property, he cannot have a connection to the system.
So we would not allow that connection at all?
We would not allow, he'd have to basically he could petition back into the system to get it reconnected, where we would charge an outlet fee, and then set benefits for it at that time. There is a proceedings he'd have to go through if he should choose to do that in the future.
Is it your opinion that he's not using the system at all right now?
The word is significant use. The water has to go someplace. It's in that particular, like in County Ditch 28 or 15, the overflow has to go to one system or another. How much is it, I guess you could go to Jeff Bregelman's, what is significant?
Right.
That is the kind of the key word, and that's where I'm feeling like I'm not quite qualified to really answer it.
I appreciate that.
It is being used, but is that significant?
Maybe that wasn't a proper question, so
yeah.
I appreciate that.
The benefits have been significantly reduced on this property, is that correct?
Yes, they were reduced at the time the original wetlands were constructed.
And would it be safe to assume, and maybe I'm not asking this correctly, but any improvement would not benefit this property?
The way the viewers have looked at similar properties on past improvements, they would say no, they would probably give no benefits for the improvement, but they would still be liable for the repair portion. Coming up on County Ditch 28, there are two portions of the improvement. There's what they call separable maintenance, which was the cost of the repairs, and then there's the improvement, which is the cost of improvement above and beyond the repairs. The way the viewers have looked at similar properties, they have figured out something for separable maintenance or the repair portion and charged that, but have not charged for the improvement portion. That's just judging by what the viewers have done on past projects. So I'm assuming they may do the same thing, but I can't speak for the viewers.
Well, we still are in the public comment portion. If there's anyone else from the public that would like to get up and talk, please give your name and address, please.
My name's Rick Owens. I live at 16599 481st Avenue. I live on County Road 30, just south of there. I want to associate myself with the remarks of Mr. Everard about the compact that we have here, that we're just lucky we have any drainage in Lincoln, and we're thankful to our forefathers and those that suffered out there farming. I bring that up only to say we know what the history is. We don't really know what the future is. We know that there's less resources available, not just because the price of corn is low, but because this ditch shed, Craig can back me up, and now I'm speaking about 15 primarily, so this is south of that property.
15 would be on the right.
Yeah, well, if you guys can.
That's County Ditch 28. Here's 15. Oh, okay. The property up there.
Okay, so basically the McMonigle property that we've been talking about, anything that goes south there, uses Judicial Ditch 15 on the east side of the ditch shed. That's kind of important because if you were to go out there and look, we have really two ditch sheds. So we've got the east ditch shed where we poured tons of money in on projects that now have already failed. It's difficult ground to work in. You can be digging in water right away and then it closes up. So they had to take out stumps. They've got a new outlet to the Walton one, still not working right. Bergman's pointed that out. But I'm speaking now for the orphans. We're on the west side. Mr. Bergman's water doesn't get to us. It has to go east and then south. The water that I get is from my neighbors to the west, and that water goes to the Jones farm, where the tile, some is laying on top of the ground, some of it's buried, not just full of sand, but under sand. So this is really a question of, and I understand the legal issue is about, well, he's not using it. Well, neither are people farming the Jones land using it, but not for the same reason. we didn't choose not to use parts of it. We just can't use it because it doesn't work. And so that's a little different thing. And then Mr. Eberhard, I want to underscore that he was trying to point out that I'm enticed because I have a lake bed. And then the Jones Farm has a lake bed too that is dry and has a county tile running underneath it, 15. That land probably can't be brought up to top farming level no matter what. But to do that would cost a fortune, and we are now thinking about rebuilding the entire ditch. Well, I would say maybe my petition should be, let us out, but then there'll only be 3 of us or 4 of us to try to get the whole west side fixed. But I know the money's gonna go back into the east side, and if you guys decide wrongly, in my opinion, we'll have less money to do it with. So anyway, I would like us to at least maintain these assets that were left there by our forefathers and paid for and worked hard, and we should leave these assets for our future people. I guess, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes?
I'm the petitioner, and this land's in permanent set-aside. It's never going to be tiled. The only tile is the 32-inch, and that's solid. There's no tile connecting to it on my property for my benefit. There's never going to be. Now, do you guys, any questions on it? We've diverted the water in parts, and there's no benefit for that piece of ground for me. It's not benefiting. I just wanted you to know that. If you got a question.
I got a question. If you look at the map, I'll answer me. You know, we were looking at that map you had up here with the tile up there at the top. And then it was rerouted over here, right? It used to come right through here. This branch. This branch here has been closed off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And or filled.
It goes around.
Now it comes around this way.
On rainies.
Yeah.
And
this top portion though, is there anything there is that solid pipe? Or what?
Solid.
That's solid pipe going through there then? So there's not even a quarter section or a little section of this property that drains into that. From the open ditch, it goes into a pipe, 36-inch pipe that goes through here.
Yeah. And then that piece is a solid that comes from the neighbors.
Which one? Right here?
Yeah.
Right there.
And there's no intakes there, nothing. It's solid. Any intakes are taken out. Everything was plugged several times.
Yeah. And then in the report when I read it, it says 22 feet approximately from the bottom of the basin to the top of the overflow, which would have, if you ever had that kind of a rain, of course it would flood this whole area.
I haven't seen it yet.
Right. And then before it could even go over that overflow, which then would go into the pipe. Is that correct?
If it reaches there.
If it went 22 feet.
It's got a ways to go. Across land.
I mean, that's the philosophy of the project. Is that we have to go 22 feet from the bottom of the basin to the top of the pipe. As a safety measure, more or less, or a flood measure.
Emergency spillway.
Yeah. So that helps me understand a little bit. So this is totally closed, that's verified.
Yeah.
And then this here, 36-inch pipe is closed system across your property. And it doesn't flow over here to his property into it.
When it flows, you can see which
I mean, your land itself doesn't flow onto this gentleman's property here.
No.
At all. It depresses.
All right.
Yeah, just curious, that helps me understand, I mean, if that sounds correct.
I just have one question, John. You put this in the CREP program in 03, 04?
Oh,
03.
Oh,
we
okay.
did the work like in 07.
Okay.
On the wetlands.
So you have a 15 years where you get payments, and then after that, it's permanently out of production and no more payments for this. So you're coming up 2 more years, and then 2 more years you'll have no more income off this land. Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Public comment still open? Go ahead.
Just one other comment.
You want to state your name again, please?
Dan Eberhardt.
Go ahead, Dan.
Unfortunately, everything's about money. You know, everybody, they want all the money they get, and they don't want to pay nothing out. And that's kind of the nature of society. On this particular, again, back to CREP. You mentioned the CREP program. Again, I have a landlord that put his land into CREP many years ago, and that's the program. They pay you that high dollars for over a period of years. So you were paid for your land. You sold your land, but you retained your responsibility on it. And I think that's, we need to, you know, make people retain the responsibilities. They still are responsible for the tiling system, which we agreed to. There isn't a farm probably in Field Township that couldn't be tiled. This farm probably, and especially with the new system going in, probably could have been 100% tiled. But either, well, of course now it's in the program, it can't be. But if another farmer would have bought that farm, they probably would have tiled the whole thing out. But as CREP was, and as my landlord did, he had like 40 acres of low ground, and they bought 400 acres. They needed upland. And so they bought a lot of good tillable ground, and they paid just as much for that slough ground as they did the good land. And so that's why this ground is being sold to CREP. Okay, so if you have, whatever it might be, 10 acres that you can't plant, it's been that way since day one when we put in the tile system. They didn't expect to farm it. They expected to farm the good land and make that better land. Today, you buy ground, and they can buy that same ground and say, hey, it's no good, it's got wetlands on it. That's the way it was for the last 50 years. But now you can sell that ground and make big money on it. So again, money is what everything is, but what's going to happen, we're going to have more and more people selling their plots of wildlife area along with the tillable ground, and now the rest of the farmers are stuck with trying to maintain a tile system, which these farmers had the access of all their life. They had access to the open ditch, and it was their choice to go into it or not go into it. A lot of farmers did not tile, some did, like I said earlier, some did maybe 50%, they went as they could afford it. Okay, right now when this tile system gets completed, that farm can be tiled in if it weren't in the CREP. It could be made good farmland. But because they made a decision to get higher dollars, and I'm not talking necessarily this farm, I'm talking about all the land in the county. Because you're going to have other people tomorrow that are going to say, hey, you know, if I have to put tile in the ground, and if I have to pay the assessment on tile, and if I have to do this and that, I'll just sell it for that high dollar and turn it over to a group that can pay me high dollars, and I'll drop my responsibilities. And I guess again, it's a choice. Sell it to the farmer, or sell it to the person that won't take the responsibility. So now you either have to try to get out of your responsibility and let the farmer pay for it because the other farmer sold.
I think we get your point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you want to state your name again, sir?
I'm Dwayne Bergerman from New Ulm. I agree with Dan, and I want you to listen to what he just said because I think there's a lot to it. If you guys don't let him out of the thing. I don't know why he should want out of the one piece. I showed you the picture of the intake going into the, I mean, if you want part of it, you gotta be in all of it. You can't just be in the part that you want. Everybody wants to have wildlife and conservation practices. I think that's fine, but nobody wants to pay you to come to hunt on your land, and then they want to sue you if they fall down and get hurt while they're hunting on your land. I don't understand that. This is all good farmland out there. It's marginal land compared to Vernon Center Township, but it still makes money. And if you guys want to collect taxes on it, take a look at what you're going to do.
Thank you, Dwayne. Anyone else? Well, let's bring it back to the board. Any wishes from the board?
I got a point of clarification. When Mr. Bergman was speaking the first time, I interpreted that John wants all of his land out of the ditch system, but I'm understanding it's just this pond is what I was.
200 acres, that's the rolling crap.
Just the crep land, not all of your property that's in the ditch system. Okay, thank you for that.
Just the crap.
Thank you.
I guess I just have a comment. John, you deserve a decision today. I mean, unfortunately, there's just one more piece that I wanna find out about. I don't think anybody would argue that you're not gonna get any benefit out of an improvement, whatever happens, the improvement on this. But I still wanna hear from the viewers on this, and I would make a motion that we table this until the viewers can make a report to us.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second that we table this. Any other comments?
There's no discussion, there's a motion for
discussion
table,
for
you
table.
can't say anything.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Nay.
All right, it's been passed that we table this procedure. Thank you very much.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. Hey, you can ask a question.
Change this to a date certain, so that you don't have to go through the notice?
Well, you know, the trouble we had is we thought we're going to have the viewers today, and of course they're so backed up. We have so few viewers in the state of Minnesota that they're so backed up that we couldn't get that. And my understanding, is that correct, Craig?
If we do this as part of the, or during this, at the same time we do the final hearing for the improvement, and how, we'll be mailing the stuff at the same time. We could just make this part of the county ditch, you know, actually the redetermination of benefits portion for County Ditch 28. We can actually make that part of the viewers report. The viewers will be here for that. We can cover
Do we
it all
have
at
a
one
date
time.
certain on that?
No, we do not have a date certain until we actually get the viewers report. I'm just going to be guessing on a date middle of June, but I could be wrong, so I'm hesitant to set it for a time and date certain.
All right.
My thought would we'd want to send out notices anyway.
Yes.
So
You'll be renoticing.
Yes,
Yeah.
renoticing.
Yeah.
May I ask a question?
sure.
So will the determination on CR, on the County Ditch 28, be the same as the determination? I mean, we talked a lot about that because 28's been well represented even without iPads, I can't see. But 15, which is a very complex and difficult ditch shed, hasn't really been given much consideration here, and that's where an awful lot of the money is potentially lying. So I'm wondering, have you bundled these together on purpose, maybe, or not?
You know what I'm going to ask you
Yes.
is we have one more thing. We have a water quality grant that we have to go through, and you can ask Craig afterwards a lot of your questions out in the hallway. Would that be all right?
Well, we can do it by email. But if you're going to make one decision on both, is that a yes or no? That's all I asked for there. One decision on both ditch sheds, is that the way it was filed, to get out of?
I don't have that
petition
information.
out of both? Yes, the petition covers both systems. Until the board makes a decision though, who knows what's gonna happen?
Well, I'd hate to be grandfathered in when it's not appropriate. So I'm asking for yes or no, and that'd be enough for me. Yes, you're gonna do it.
I don't have that information.
No, we won't.
Well, we have to answer the petition. If it's petitioned for 2 ditches, we have to answer it.
Yeah, and it could be, because every wetland's different, every situation's different. One of the things that they have to take into consideration when you're removing property is it prejudicial to the rest of the system. Basically, meaning if you take so much land out, it's not, you can't support the old system anymore. That's one of the things the board has to consider. And quite frankly, it is different on 15 than 28 because there's a lot more, like Mr. Owens and Eberhard mentioned, there's a lot more land on 15 that is actually in program. So that is something to take into consideration. That would be different on 15 than 28. But as far as the board order, the board could order one with slightly different rules and slightly different information on the one order. Or they can break out into 2 orders. I don't know. It depends on how the board wants to do that.
I'm not either.
Mr. Chair, I don't believe we're in a position to answer that question today,
we're not.
so I
The
would
viewers
defer
are gonna be
that.
the ones that'll tell us.
Not in that position.
We'll know
yet.
more after the viewers.
That's right.
All right.
No, yes or no is what I've been asking for.
How about I don't know?
Gave you the third choice.
I don't know is a good. You should make a decision if you don't know.
Yeah.
All I'm saying.
That's true.
All right. Let's go on to our water quality grant.
This is kind of we applied for a water quality grant and for the state of, I guess it's from the Bowser, and we got it. This grant was actually for a couple things. We want to do an inventory on some select ditch systems and look at replacing some of the existing side intakes with something that's actually hopefully will work better, last longer, and will actually introduce a lot less sediment into the open ditch systems. So the grant money, the $95,000 grant money does 2 things. It's for the inventory and actually the design is what the $95,000 for. And we're basically targeting 4 different systems, and we kind of so they're spread out throughout the county. So.
Okay. What's the wishes of the board? Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments, questions? Go ahead.
Potentially though, we'll be the ones then that operate the grant dollars. I mean, they're coming to the county.
That's correct.
But you'll work with, I mean, I know you've talked recently with Jared, with SWCD. They potentially could get some funds for helping with the project if it's needed.
That would, I guess I'd like to work with Jared, because of course there are opportunities to kind of expand our scope of the project along with their, so just makes sense to work with the soil and water. They have resources and things that, they might have programs that might, as far as implementation, that we might want to look into also. This $95,000 is not for implementation. But again, we picked 4 ditches that need to have the intakes replaced anyway. There's problems anyway, so we're looking at, okay, let's do an inventory, look at the land, and put something in that actually makes sense and by modern standards for a ditch rather than the old traditional, some of them were quite frankly introduced a lot of sediment to some of the old style systems.
Is it a set amount of money though? I mean, is it a set amount of money, or they can give you 50,000, they give you whatever they think?
This is $95,000 for both, there's broken out into two portions, inspection or actually inventory, going out there and actually inventorying the problems, and then coming up with a design.
Okay. 'Cause in my mind, when I hear the word inventory, I just think, well, okay, yeah, we got one here, we got one there, we got one there. You mean kind of assess in the inventory what it's doing?
The little sub watersheds on the side intake, is this a little set? What's happened? Well, we have a problem on this particular spot along the ditch. What is the problem? Is it a case where we need a 6-inch intake? Do we need a 24-inch intake? Okay. Would this be do we need to redo the berm? Maybe there's a little bit of storage here, moving it into the grass. Do we actually get some filtration? on these, those are all be taken consideration as part of the design phase.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Passed. Thank you so much. It's just been a thrill to have you up here today.
You're welcome.
We're gonna go on to our negative ditch balance resolution. Lisa?
Hi, Lisa.
Lisa. How are you?
Hi, Lisa.
Some interesting stuff.
Oh, yeah. We just, are fun and games around here today.
So every year, at the end of the year, we have to take any ditch that has a negative cash balance and we need to advance it money. Normally it was through the general fund, but we've now set up a commitment from the capital fund that if it's a ditch that we're going to bond for, we will then transfer the money from the capital fund. So in January, I believe actually Bob brought a resolution to the board. And since then, I've going through the audit with the ditch and with the ditch manager, a few of our numbers have changed. And he's informed me of a couple more ditches. The ones in bold are the ones that we will eventually bond for, or not bond for, but the county is going to fund it instead of bonding.
Instead of bonding, yeah.
So a couple new developments. One of them just yesterday. So you now have a new resolution in front of you.
I'm sorry, you took two out of there or something.
We took the top one out. That to repair had a redetermination, and so we've set up a new program which will be county funded. So that we needed, when we added it to the other one, there was some prepayments of specials, so that does not have a negative balance at this time. So the total has been reduced by the 41,000. And then we have also added program 923 and 924, the 28 and 34 improvement. We've added that to be bonded, or county funded instead of bonded.
Okay.
So that's how this one changes. So we will not be updating again. This will be the final one because we will be giving this to the auditors this week.
Well, thank you very much. What are the wishes of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions, comments?
It's a better way to do it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. It's passed. All right. All right. We're going to have our Mr. Phil Clausen's going to come up and talk to us. Phil, can you try to compact this a little bit?
I think I should.
Just give more time.
We'd really
that was a hint. Just more time for Jay, though, okay?
We'd really appreciate it if you did. Yeah, give us the compact version. That's all I can ask.
I will do that. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I will try to go through this fairly rapidly. If there are any questions, by all means, slow me down.
Gosh, I think I've asked you twice to do this now, haven't I?
know. See, I'm getting a complex.
Next
I have to put you out in the front.
Right, exactly.
And J is before P, so it's going to be called the J and Phil. And you'll really get a complex. Yeah.
JP, yeah. Several action items for the board's attention today. First of those being the South Central Community-Based Initiative. Really, this is an amended award for just under $20,000, and it's to purchase 2 vans. We have 2 vans in Blue Earth County, and LeSueur and Sibley are also going to purchase a van apiece. So that's that first item. And what we're asking for is approval of that as the fiscal host of the South Central Community-Based Initiative. Public Health has one item as well, a $3,500 grant, and that is really to enable us to support and develop our Minnesota Responds, which is the voluntary network that we use in case of any kind of a disaster and we need volunteers to help in a community event. The supportive housing item is a business associated agreement. We're seeing more of these, which is really about Blue Earth County as a HIPAA-covered entity, that we need to have these agreements with different entities that we're in relationship with. Three Rivers, in this case, along with Wilder Foundation. There is no cost to this item, and the BAA may be periodically reviewed and updated as needed. So we are seeing more and more of those just with the attention that Data Practices is receiving of late. Administratively, just two items here. The first of those being our fee policy. We update this annually with the board. This year, sometimes we do a little more intensive review of some of the rates that we charge, but this particular review really resulted in just procedural and wording changes, and so the effective date of this year's update would be March 1st, 2015. Also, just two additions to our committees. Megan Mills Colsing is going to the Mental Health Task Force, and Marlene Madrano, Human Service Advisory Committee, and those are the action items I have for you today.
All right. What are the wishes of the board?
I'll move the action item.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's been passed.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I have several slides, and I will kind of keep the same pace here today, and if there's any specific items, I'm more than willing to address those. First slide is all about performance reports that we provide on an annual basis. First slide is child support, and really just to bring your attention to the fact that collections on child support is our real focus area. You'll see on all the other graphs that our performance is actually quite good. This particular item is one of the performance measures that the state's going to look at into the future, and we're right on the cusp of kind of that place we should be, and so we'd like to actually keep our focus on that area and get over the prescribed measures that we're shooting for. And you'll see a graph at the bottom of the page just about the values of our collections in child support. And so we do need that number to tick up as we go forward, and it is a focus area in child support for this coming year. The next slide is about homelessness. There's a lot of interesting information that the board can review in this slide. You'll look at the length of homelessness and the episodes of homelessness of the folks that we serve. An interesting bullet point, 17% of the heads of households who we're working with were homeless also as a child, so there's that repetitive nature of almost 20% of them have experienced it their whole life. The little box on the left side of the slide is just our numbers, if the board would just look to that. 28 families, which breaks down to 31 children and 40 adults for a total of 71 individuals. 38 single adults without children and 2 unaccompanied youth that we serve. So the total in this program is 111 folks that have struggled with homelessness, and representing 68 households that our staff serve. There are some interesting information points there too if folks are interested in looking at that in more detail. 72-hour holds are the next slide. This first slide is a regional slide, and it shows 708 72-hour holds in our catchment area for the South Central Community-Based Initiative. Really important point for the board to understand is the second bullet under the first pie graph. 88% of the hold orders that we had were not open for case management, and we always feel this is a really important statistic, that most of the folks that come in for holds are not being served by case management staff for the county. So in other words, the reverse of that is case management really works, and we want these folks to receive that ongoing and consistent care from case management. The next slide actually feeds from that general number of hold orders. The 708, a total of 225 were then referred for civil commitment assessment, and then another third of those are, that's not on the slide, but are actually turn out to be full-blown commitments. So there's kind of this triage effects that goes down. You'll see Blue Earth County has some very strong numbers here, and again, the folks that end up on commitments often don't receive case management. Case management is a voluntary service, so they can opt out, but it is in both the individuals and the family's best interest to try to join us in that pursuit of case management as well. Next slide, behavioral health unit data. There's the hold orders. Again, this is specific to Blue Earth County. The first slide was regional. This is our numbers. And I brought this to board last year where we've seen really great success in reducing our hold costs, a very dramatic reduction by getting people signed up for health care while they're in the hospital at ER. Both our staff and the hospital staff to work on making sure everybody that can be on health insurance is.
That's an amazing slide.
It really is. It's something we're very proud of, Commissioner, and something that's seen great success. That cost effectiveness ratio is really good in that regard. The next graphic is about the clubhouse, and just a couple of those I'll highlight. Daily average attendance is about 14 individuals that use the club. You'll see that that number of duplicated member visits, how many people have used it, is approaching 5,000 hits for who use the club during the year, and 30 new members joined. So all of those are exactly what I want our clubhouse to be. We very much appreciate our ability to be in the Vine building and the board's support of that move. The space is just second to none, and I think the membership really enjoys that. They really take ownership in their clubhouse. And finally, just a real straightforward graphic. We've talked about the disability population and how that's grown. This is the number that we've talked about also, that these are folks that we serve. There's also a number of folks, approximately between 300 and 400 people that are in our community but served by other counties, and that, as you all know, is about to change, where we'll be doing the reassessments on those people that live here that have historically been the responsibility of outside counties. So that's where some of our staff increases have been. But you'll see the overall numbers are also increasing, just in general.
All right.
And that's what I had.
And Jay, do you have a report for us?
Chair and Commissioners, the Human Service Committee met March 12th. Under mental health, the SCCBI program coordinator posted a position. The St. Peter what is the St. Peter CBI?
HH, yep.
And what is that?
That's a community-based hospital in St. Peter. So the smaller, it's a 16-bed hospital. Yep, for mental illness. Yep.
They've been capped at 10 to 12 beds due to high acuity of cancers or need for more staff. Mayo Mankato is down to 2 psychiatric providers. Their beds are currently capped at 9 to 11. The crisis center's volume continues to grow, as does requests for mobile crisis service. Project Community Connect takes place this afternoon, or right now, from now until 3:30. The theme is Living on Too Little. Various services will be offered, such as legal, medical, dental, housing, resources, veteran services, and many more. Under social services, Erica Sorensen was hired in a dual role as an adult and child protection specialist. Recruiting is taking place for visitation supervisors. These are people willing to pick up children and bring them to the county office for supervised parental visits. The Salvation Army made their goal this year in contribution for basic operating costs. They are hoping to raise further funds for a remodel at their facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Phil. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it too. Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot, Phil.
Bob, we're going to jump back to, I believe, Human Resources.
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the Human Resources Department agenda does just include informational items. given our time today, I'd just point out that we are continuing to be busy in our Human Resources departments with a number of positions being filled, some promotions, and a couple of resignations. So unless the board has specific questions on any of the items, I maybe would defer any further discussion on it.
Any questions on that? All right, let's go on to the liquor license.
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 4 in your packet is a memo requesting board action on 3.2 liquor licenses effective April 1st of this year through March 31st of 16 for the 3 organizations listed there. And we've done the review of the applications and we're recommending approval.
And the board wishes?
Move approval.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Prairie Lock, that's in Blue Earth County, right?
Cambria.
Yes, sir.
It's been a couple of years now.
I'll never let you forget that one, Drew. Yeah, it's all in good humor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And against? Thank you. Trust me, I know there's gonna be mistakes that's gonna be brought up for me sometime in the future.
Yeah, it's just a pipe dream on your part.
Yes, it is. Tax abatement.
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, we've received a request for a tax abatement from Jad Sepman for some property that was incorrectly recorded in our system at 86.72 acres when in fact it's only 73.5 acres, and so recommend approval of this abatement to recognize that change.
Make a motion for
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments?
Just how do they discover it then?
I'm actually not aware of how it was discovered, whether the landowner brought it to us or if we caught it.
That's what happens sometimes anyway, yeah.
I thought maybe a viewer found it or something.
All right. Any more comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 6 in your packet then is a resolution authorizing the Veteran Service Officer to pursue a grant application that's available to the County Veteran Service Office to enhance the operations of the office, and so we have an opportunity to receive $12,500 to upgrade some equipment as well as do some outreach efforts to our veterans community. So recommending approval of this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments?
Is this, I suppose there's a bunch of them around the state. Or
They've gotten them before, I know, they're using.
Yes, this is a
They
grant
did get it
that has
before,
been
yeah.
used by our office in the past to upgrade equipment, and the amount is a little more than we've received in prior years, so we're trying to do a little more with it this time around.
I believe you can use this grant for putting the signs up, showing
Marketing.
veterans the ability to call certain places. I think we've seen them in I know I've seen it on Highway 60, I've seen it on 169, different counties have used it. You know, if you're a veteran, please call your Veterans Administrative. They can use this grant for computers and stuff in the office. They can use it for transportation, helping transportation. So, and it's like $12,500. So this is, it's not a small amount.
I'll have to ask that after, but the signage would go anywhere on any county or state?
It has to go in Blue Earth County, I would imagine.
Okay, because you know, we are gonna get now the Beyond Yellow Ribbon, five signs up on, they'll be on state highways, 14 and 22
So
and 83.
These would likely be billboards as opposed to...
They would actually be billboards, that's
They'd
what I
be
was wondering.
billboards.
Because these will go on the near the county
But
sign.
I would expect that we will use that money and then make sure that hopefully that our Veterans Administrative Service is already, you know, ready to use the money that it can get from the state.
Okay. Attachment A in your packet, which is on page 40, does show kind of all the approved uses of these grant dollars. So if you have additional questions in terms of where the monies could be utilized, that document I think can help explain it.
All right. Did we vote on this?
No, we didn't vote yet.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Passed.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 7 in your packet then is the financial status report for the end of February. It's early in our fiscal year, so we do see some variances that are typical at this time of the year. Revenues continue to lag behind just because of the timing of our property tax collections. Expenses, on the other hand, are a little closer to our anticipated budget. It will continue to lag behind our budget just because of the summer construction season. The size of that particular line item will cause it to be below our target for the first half of the year, but as those construction projects start to take off, we'll see that catch up. So at this point, things are where we would expect them to be at this time of the year.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else?
That's all we have for you today, Mr. Chair.
I'd ask a motion to recess to lunch.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.